welcome back! It's been a while since my last video because I've been busy with a lot of things going on in my life. But I finally have time to catch up on all the animes that I've been watching, and I figured with most of the summer animes ending this week, it's time for me to do a top 5 anime review for this season, as well as a top 5 most anticipated animes for the next season. Just a disclaimer before I start, so the list I've come up with consists only of animes that you won't see any donghwas appearing on it, and that includes the 3rd season of Mado. Because otherwise, if it's there, it will definitely be the top of the list. Okay, now with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get started on my list of top 5 animes for the summer 2021 season. Number 5 will be Uramichi Onisan. So for Uramichi Onisan, actually I was quite bored watching the first episode. I found it a bit too predictable and I didn't really laugh watching that. So I have to say that I was quite disappointed, but then it actually got better and better from there. And of course, it definitely helps because all the characters are very good looking, especially the main character. And besides that, what I do is that I usually watch it in the morning before I go to work. And that definitely helps because it makes me appreciate my working environment so much more. What I find is a bit confusing is that sometimes it can be too heavy for what is supposedly a light-hearted anime. And the transitions from the darker bits of the anime to the more comedic parts aren't really that smooth at times. So you get a bit confused as to what the anime is trying to do. You don't know whether it's trying to go down a more realistic path or is it just going to stick on a path of satire. So for me, I felt that it was good if you want to watch something that doesn't require a lot of brain power. But if you're looking for something that is a bit more into like character development or story plot, then maybe this is possibly not your cup of tea. Alright, so for number 4 on my list, and that is Remain. Alright, I have to say number 3 and 4, there was actually quite a close fight between these two animes. But what actually dropped Remain down is that I didn't enjoy the first few episodes that much, which is the same case with Uramichi Onisan. So after watching the first episode, I actually looked through the comments for it and a lot of people enjoyed it quite a bit. But to me, it wasn't very impressive. I just felt that it was quite similar to the usual run-of-the-mill sports anime, and the whole amnesia shtick was just a bit too cringy for me. Also, Eitaro's voice just made my ears bleed. I really cannot stand his voice. And I have to say, on the level of annoying characters, he's pretty much on par with Nitori Ai from Free. And that is saying quite a lot. But when the twist came, I have to say, I was really surprised by it. And I have to admit, it was done very cleverly. Although how realistic it is, I don't know. But it was a really smart and unpredictable way to use amnesia as a plot device. I'm not gonna say anything more than because that will ruin the magic for you, but for me, this was what elevated Remain above the typical sports anime. I felt that the character interactions could be a lot stronger. Even after watching the 11th episode, I wasn't really convinced by their team dynamics. Usually for me, a really good sports anime will make me want to try out the sports itself. So for example, Skate made me actually take up skateboarding. Run with the Wind made me go run again. But I didn't really feel much from Remain. But beggars can't be choosers. It was the only sports anime for this season. Actually did decently well and satisfied my sports anime craving. So it has one more episode to go at the time of this filming, and I'm really looking forward to how it will end. Hopefully it ends on a solid note, and I actually don't mind a second season for this. Number 3 on my list is Remain 2041. Okay, I have to say there are times where it really feels like I'm the only person on the world that's watching this anime. There doesn't seem to be any hype for this anime at all. As you can tell from my ranking, I quite enjoyed it. There's still one more episode to go before it officially ends. And yes, with Wonder Egg Priority still fresh on my mind, I know that a horrible last episode can kill a really good anime. But so far, Night Hare has been quite solid. It is sci-fi, so the plot can be quite confusing, like with Godzilla SP the previous season. But I could still keep up with it quite well, so it's not that difficult to understand. It does remind me strongly of Akudama Drive, especially with the opening song. But in terms of story-wise, definitely not the same at all. What took me by surprise is that I am normally not a fan of CGI in anime, and when I first started watching Nighthead, I thought that I would hate it. But the animation was not as awkward as I expected it to be. The characters' designs weren't off-putting, and the best part was the special effects were really, really impressive. I would say if you don't watch it for the plot, watch it for the special effects. Number 2 on my list is Kageki Shoujo. Set in a famous all-female theatrical school, Kageki Shoujo focuses on the journey of 2 drastically different girls as they navigate their paths onto becoming famous stars representing the school. The story alone doesn't sound that remarkable, but what makes the anime really shine is its cast of stellar characters. Especially my favourite, the overly enthusiastic and goofy Watanabe Sarasa. From the first episode alone, this girl already holds a very special place in my heart. But it is only through understanding how she came to be in this school that I started to appreciate her as more than just a cute character. I would say that in Kageki Shoujo, Sarasa actually holds the role of a catalyst, and it is through interacting with her that we see the other characters growing and evolving further, as they struggle with issues such as talent versus hard work and the role of gender in the arts. The contrast of the two gender-exclusive arts, Kabuki, as well as this all-female theatrical group, both of which at one point seem to deny Sarasa's existence in them, might be a bit too artificial for some, but I find that it's quite effective in questioning whether conventions should be adhered to even at the cost of crushing talent. I don't know, am I reading too much into it? But even without these implications, Kageki Shoujo is still a comfortable and easy to watch slice of life anime, and I highly recommend that you go check it out. And we're finally down to my number one for this season, and that will be Idolish 7 Third Beat. Boy, this boys just can't get a break, right? Every time things seem to be going their way, shit just hits the fan, really. But at least this time it's not just them getting the brunt of it. We see Rivale and Trigger getting into the action as well, or rather the chaos as well. Did I say that this is the best episode of Idolish 7 so far? I think really for me that is the case, because every episode was absolutely riveting. I'm always so surprised when the episode ends because I just can't believe that 24 minutes just flew past like that. This season really amplifies everything that I love about Idolish 7. And what differentiates it from like the normal run-of-the-mill idol anime? The drama is realistic and the character development is never cliche or archetypal. One thing I like is that this season actually made me appreciate Rivale as a group a whole lot more than before. In season 2 when they were introduced, I didn't really buy into like their whole senpai act. I wasn't convinced by it at all. But this season really elaborated on their backstory and their personalities. And thanks to that, I've developed some affection for them, particularly Yuki and his very flawed personality. As an anime watcher, I tried playing the game, but really the dialogues were too lengthy for me. I don't know how true this stays to the game, but overall I really enjoyed this season. One gripe I do have though is that I was quite looking forward to the introduction of Zoe, because in the PV they actually featured them quite prominently, but they only appeared in like a couple of scenes and not a lot as well. And it seems like we have to wait for them in the second part of this season, which has been announced to be premiering next year. And that is a long time to wait. So that is my only disappointment with this. But other than that, really, thumbs up for this season. So after going through my top 5 animes for this season, we can now put them aside and talk about my top 5 most anticipated anime for the next season, which is the fall 2021 season. So this season, I would say is pretty sparse compared to the summer season, but there are a few animes that I'm interested in. And top 5 on my list is Sankaku Mado no Sotogawa wa Yoru. The manga that this is adapted from is a BL, and that makes it an automatic inclusion on my list of animes to watch for this season. Yes, I'm biased that way because we don't get that many BL animes. That being said though, I actually read this manga before, and up to date there's barely, in fact negligible BL content at all. So for all you non-BL lovers, I would say it's still quite a safe anime to watch in terms of that. So I actually read volume 1 of this manga a long time ago, and I dropped it because it was so confusing. I didn't get what was going on. Like I said, there wasn't any BL interaction, so I kind of lost interest. But once I found out that the anime was going to come out, I actually picked it up again. And I'm really glad I did because the story actually got better. There was more explanation of what was going on, and the story became a lot more clearer and more cohesive. The preview for this anime was also quite interesting. Characters design are a lot better than they look in the manga. So yeah, I'm actually quite looking forward to it, and hopefully it doesn't disappoint me and I don't drop it halfway. Number 4 on my most anticipated anime list will be Visual Prison. So we have music, vampires who all look like Cutthroat from Akudama Drive. I don't think I need to say anymore. Basically for this anime, I'm just looking for good music and viable shits. No shame people, no shame. Number 3, we have Komi San wa Komyushou desu, or the English title, Komi Can't Communicate. Komi San. It has been a long journey with her. I actually started reading the manga a long time ago, and I remember finding this one of the cutest mangas that I've ever read. But as the story went on, I started to lose interest because I feel that Komi San never really developed much as a character. Yes, she talked more and she got more friends as per her plan, but honestly, was there a really significant change? I find that she's quite flawed as a character in the context of this story, because even without putting much effort, she could literally gain hundreds of people following her because of her looks, which I find that undermines the premise of the whole story. What I loved about Komi San at the start was how realistic they portrayed the struggles of people with communication disorders, but halfway through it just felt like the author forgot that this was what he was going for, and it just spiraled into like a run-of-the-mill love story. So towards the end, it's just, I just say that now I'm still reading it. I haven't dropped it yet, but it just feels like I'm reading it for the sake of completing it. I just don't want to drop it. But I digress. I'm still looking forward to the anime because it adapts the first part of the manga, which is the part I really like. And it was kind of my dream for it to be animated when I was reading it. So hopefully they do a good job and I can put my grievances with Komi San to rest after watching it. Number 2, we have Platinum End, because there's just no way I cannot watch a battle royale style setting for an anime. And after watching the PVs, I got quite excited. I have not read the manga before. Apparently it's by the author of Death Note and Bakuman, but just from the PVs alone, it looked really good. It looks like there's going to be some good action, some good killing, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully there isn't a huge romance aspect to it, because when that happens, usually the action goes out of whack and then you get a lot. It's just not as fun anymore. So I'm looking forward to some good action scenes and of course the psychological action as well. And we're down to the finale, my number 1 for my most anticipated anime for the next season, and that is Blue Period, because I absolutely freaking love the manga. I read the first chapter and immediately I'm like, I need to buy it. I need to buy it. It truly spoke to me from the bottom of my heart, as pretentious as it sounds. And yeah, Yatora and his confused ass is to be protected at all costs, and Yutasuke is just my child. I have to say, it is a story that is made to be a manga. The art is incredible with the use of light and shadow. In fact, my only complaint with the character design for the anime is that they're too pretty already. Really. The characters in Blue Period are meant to be raw and vulnerable, and their design in the manga actually reflects that. But looking at the PV for the anime, wow, they are really too pretty. Yeah, for once I find that the prettiness actually undermines the anime itself. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. At the time of this filming, I actually watched the first episode of Blue Period already. And as you can tell from my tone, I was really disappointed. I just felt that they tried to condense a lot of things together in that first episode, and they didn't dwell too much on Yatora's state of mind during this whole process where he was discovering art and wanting to, join the art course. Not a spoiler because that's entirely the point of this manga, but yeah, it was brought over very superficially, very fast. We didn't really get any depth into his thinking, into the other characters, and I just felt that it missed out on a lot of the details that made Blue Period so incredible. I'm still gonna shoulder on and finish it, but really I feel that Blue Period deserves a really good anime adaptation, because there's a manga that really speaks to people. It will make you question what you're doing with your life. I don't know, is it just me? I just really love Blue Period, and I hope that they get a good adaptation, and so that more people can come to know of it and love it. And that's my wish for this adaptation. Well, now I've told you my reviews for summer 2021 animes, as well as my top 5 most anticipated animes for next season. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and what animes do you find particularly good for the summer 21 season, as well as what animes you're actually looking forward to the next season. I'm actually interested to see how many of you actually thought the same way I did about the summer 21 animes, and I'm also interested to see what animes I actually missed out on during the season that I could catch up, because right now I'm in a bit of a rut regarding animes, don't really know what to watch, so please drop me some recommendations as well if you have. And with that, please click like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you the next time. Bye!